Well, hey, we're back, and I got a fresh cup of coffee, so I'm ready to go. Anyhow, last time we were talking, Lyn was talking really about the ancient landmarks being removed, and how, if in Proverbs 23:10, it talks about removing the ancient landmark, because he's referring to landmarks, but the ancient landmark, which is God,
Yeah.
or Jesus, and in this nation and many nations around the world, they have removed God, the Ancient of Days, the ancient landmark, and therefore they've replaced them with man's
Whatever.
ideas, whatever they are. So therefore we're in a situation they need to be restored, and something that what Bob had given me before was ancient landmarks were righteousness, obedience, humility, and holiness. And he said we needed to remove the law, which is a law that we've replaced by, in place of the Lord, and replace it with the grace of God. So, but anyhow, I know you've got a lot to share yet to continue about the ancient landmarks and how man has replaced them.
Yeah, and the Lord showed me kind of I call it the procession of the Codebreakers. It's basically, maybe just the way my mind works is I saw like this and then next this, so it might just be like mountaintops that I'm seeing the headlines instead of everything that goes on with it. But the first headline was Isaiah 42 16 through 23, and really you could look at the entirety of Isaiah 42, and I don't need to read the whole thing, but it basically is saying that he's going to bring the blind by a way that they didn't know, and he'll lead them in paths that they have not known. He'll make darkness light before them and crooked places straight. These things I will do for them and not forsake them. They shall be turned back, they shall be greatly ashamed, who trust in carved images, who say to the molded images, you are our gods. Now this, I was actually looking at this morning, because usually we look at it as, oh, here's a created thing. This is obviously like, we make heroes out of people that they've been, or in older times where, they made graven images, and they had statues and, Buddha and all kinds of different things like that. But really, the Lord was showing me it's not only man-made things. Even, he says, don't worship the angels. Those are God-made images. Those are God-made beings. We're not supposed to worship them either. He's the one that we worship.
That's right.
Him alone. That's it. That's it. And it was just I felt I needed to kind of include that in there. But the whole reason that he's doing this with the Codebreakers is not because, yes, he wants to open up blind eyes, and yes, he wants to get things set in order, and like that's all part of it. But hidden in here, it says it's because the Lord is well pleased for his righteousness' sake. That's the whole reason. When he looks at us, we're covered with the blood of Jesus. He doesn't see our sins. He's not saying, hey, I need to do this. It's because he's well pleased with us. It's because he's seeing Jesus all over us. And that's the whole reason he's doing it.
So yeah, it's like that Christ in me, the hope of glory.
Exactly.
Okay, so in his righteous people.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he can't see it in all of us, because not all of us are saved.
Right, but he is bringing up people. Some of them are going to be saved, and some of them are going to get saved.
Right.
Through through this process of breaking the codes. So the way that I saw it is it's included in that Isaiah 42, 16 through 23. You could read all of 42 because it's got a lot in it. But then I mentioned it on the earlier video was Exodus 3:3. Basically, Moses is walking and in the desert, and he sees this burning bush, and it's out in his field. The Lord started showing me back in August, I believe it was, that there's many fields, and so there's many code breakers. Some are going to be over a couple fields, and some they're going to have a couple people working specifically on one field. But there's going to be a lot of code breakers, and they're being positioned first of all to see that there's a need for these things to get set in correct position to line up with God. And some of them might just stumble upon it, that where these landmarks are, or what these things are. But he's basically going to start opening up eyes and burning in people's hearts to really pursue this one thing or these couple things to get them placed in the right place. And so the next thing that I saw was actually in Psalm 23:3, and we're looking at the Shepherd's Rod 2019 here that I'm reading out of. We have it; it's available on didyoulearntolove.org. You just look on there for the Shepherd's Rod 2019, and you'll find it. So anyway, he says, he restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Again, it's not because he's saying, hey, you all need to get saved, or you know, yes, that's part of it, but it's because of his righteousness. It's for his name's sake. That's the reason. There's going to be code breakers, like I said, that are Christians, and then there's some that are going to kind of stumble into it, and they're going to say, I need Jesus, because this is too much for me to handle on my own, and it's gonna be a very good thing. We have a part to play, which I'll get into. We have a part to play in this, even if you're not you're not into science, or you're not into DNA structures or technology or whatever. I'm telling you, you have a part to play in this, and that's I'll get into that in just a minute. The next thing that I saw as the headlines are going would be Matthew 7:7, and see if I can get there real quick. Matthew 7:7 is ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and it will be open to you. And it's basically he's put specific things for the code breakers. We're just going to say for the code breakers, he's put certain things there for them to discover step by step, so that things can get in order. We're going to see them, some of them, like in the headlines, the actual headlines, and some of them are just going to be put kind of secretly in place. But when you see a field of technology or science really like start skyrocketing, you're going to know that those landmarks are in place because it's not in a fatherless field anymore.
Yeah, so you're saying like they're really they're not being it's like restoring it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's been removed.
it was removed.
It
Yeah.
was removed,
Mhm.
and now it's been distorted.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but he's redeeming that. So
Yeah.
he's really replacing it with the righteous. So
Right.
and it has to be
He's
at a
doing it
certain-
because
certain time.
he delights in his righteousness.
Right. So, but even though, say, like, prayer's been taken out of school since 1961, I think.
Mhm.
Okay. So, since that time, that landmark was removed,
Yeah.
right? So, and here it is, how many years later? A lot, 50-some years. So, it's been removed. So now it's going to be restored. So, but it'll take
There's
somebody
going to be a code breaker or a set of code breakers that set things up so that those boundaries come back.
Yeah, so it's
Mhm.
put back in
And
its rightful
it's
place.
it's not necessarily going to fit the way that it did 60 years or so ago. It's probably going to look a little different because the world looks a little different now. But he's gonna put things in place so that those landmarks, basically, so he's sitting and being exalted so that all men can be drawn to him.
Mhm.
That's basically what the code breakers are going to be doing. They're in a way kind of like a secret evangelist
Yeah.
or an apostle with a huge evangelistic outcome. So now, what I had mentioned just a little bit earlier is that there's say that you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, I'm not really a code breaker. I don't have the capacity to, break down DNA sequences or, figure computer code or anything like that. That doesn't put you on the sideline. That just puts you in a different position, and you can be part of it. For the most part, the way that I see that you can be part of it is prayer and intercession for them, because they're gonna need it. It's I don't think it's in any way going to be an easy road, because some, I know for a fact, the code that I was shown, that's kind of started this whole code breaker thing, it's been out of whack for at least 500 years.
Well, can you elaborate on that or not?
Yeah. For a couple months.
It was before I was born.
Yeah, it was before most of us were born. We saw probably, I'm going to say June or July of 2018, I started really looking up at the stars, and I'd say, like, Lord, I know that you're up there. I know that you created all of these stars, and like I can identify the North Star and the Big and Little Dipper, and there's a lot more to it than that, but I know that you put them there not so that we can do fortune telling and astrology and stuff like that, but I know that the wise men looked up at the stars. They understood because they were taught how to correctly look at them and interpret what was going on, and they said, hey, here's our burning bush. It's in the sky and it's going that way. And they followed it for however long it took them, and wow, there's Jesus. They went on their journey, but the thing is, they looked there and they saw all this, and I look up there, and I'm thinking in the I'm going to say unredeemed way of like, oh well, here's the zodiac, and that's probably not correct, but like what part of it actually what part of it started out in God and then got perverted, and what part is where have the landmarks been moved, as I'm looking up at the stars and there's no land, but where are those landmarks, and he started showing me like it's gonna need someone who can go and look at those correctly and be able to see and hear what the Lord's saying, and there's probably some ancient texts that predate when the charts were reorganized, so to speak.
So you're saying like the modern astrologers,
astronomers, yeah.
Yeah, that they changed like what was the Big Dipper, Little Dipper, Sagittarius, all that. Did they?
And I'm not sure
moved
how
them?
yep, and it was around 500 years ago. So it was around the time of Galileo. They changed the way that it was looked at. That's the best way I can say it.
Yeah,
So
because you can't
so
physically move them.
no, but the way that people charted the skies and everything. Basically, the everything was laid out kind of like a map, and they just kind of moved the boundaries of certain things, so it all made sense.
So you think now like they're going to rediscover those old manuscripts or whatever, and those charts and
That would be awesome. I would like to. I've been looking for a few months now to try to find that predating star charts. But aside from all that, like what I believe the Codebreakers are in need of is our intercession on their behalf. That they have eyes that are ready to open, and ears that are ready to hear, and hearts that are ready to be spoken to by the Lord, and that they'll be willing to go after that burning bush, to lay everything else aside, and to really get that landmark and put it in its proper place in that whatever their field is, and pray for them that their opposition is
minimal.
well, yeah, I was gonna say is minimal, but you know what? It's not that it's minimal, but that they have the grace to overcome it, and they have the support that they need to accomplish the goals that the Lord has laid out for them, and that their fields will no longer be fatherless.
All right. You and I both know someone who is a code breaker.
Oh, probably a couple of code breakers, but
one,
yeah.
one in particular,
Mm-hmm.
and it has to do with the birth of Jesus, as to the exact place that he was birthed, the manger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so don't feel at liberty to release much of this information right now, but
Yeah.
we do have a friend that is involved with archaeological digs for years, many years, that they now have put together the right code, so to speak, with all the documentation
Mm-hmm.
of the actual birthplace of Christ. So that was a code, because I think, and I haven't been to Israel yet, but there's a lot of people for many years has made a lot of money taking people on tours, and
just
this is where certain,
locales, yeah.
this is where, this was, and this, and Jesus was born here, and this is that, and whatever. And bless their hearts, I mean, I think they were going by what they believed,
Yeah.
okay? And they may even still believe Christmas is December 25th, or, that Christ was born then. But Codebreakers have broke that code, and they're restoring that ancient landmark.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that, I didn't even think about that till you just now talking, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
I'd say these people have been code breakers, and it's been taking a very long time
Yeah.
to put it together.
Yep.
But the good thing, they've done it, I was going to say basically, maybe secret and quiet, till
Yep.
they had all the facts and
Mm-hmm.
documentation, all the
Yeah.
artifacts, and now they're able to bring it. So
Mm-hmm.
we're praying for them that they do have the grace to bring it, and that people, there's always going to be the doubters and unbelievers
Sure.
and what have you, and the mockers and scoffers, but, I'm praying that people will actually have an open heart.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's no Santa Claus. Oh, that couldn't be. Jesus wasn't born December 25th. He wasn't here. No, he came down the chimney in a stocking. But, we will just, but we do need to pray for people to have the grace.
Yeah.
For the code breakers to have the grace to be able to endure the
Yeah.
persecution that they're going to take when it doesn't go the way, because people aren't going to believe it. That's it.
Yeah.
So, anyhow.
I guess that's about everything that I have on the Codebreakers and the
I think that's
ancient landmarks.
good. You could be one of them.
More than likely, if you're, like I said, if you're not a Codebreaker, you're still part of the team.
I think one of the codes that's going to be restored, one of the landmarks, is the gospel. Oh my goodness, it's been so
It has
distorted.
been. Yeah.
And I was thinking about evangelism.
Jesus has been taken out of a good bit of it.
Bob Weiner always says, if you're born again, you're a full-time evangelist,
Yeah.
and we've so exalted people and really don't look at how the first evangelists, how they really were,
Yeah.
and bless
It's
the heart
funny.
of the people that have the big crusades and what have you, but I don't really know that that's the heart of it. Today it's the heart of evangelism, but before TV and what have you, even before the tents, back in the 50s and 60s, they did the tent revivals,
Yeah.
and Billy Graham started that way, and Oral Roberts, and a lot of them. I'm not saying anything disrespectful to them. I mean, praise God, that's what they did, but one-on-one evangelism, those people, you get them saved, you get to the core of what the problem is there, and you get them saved, you get them saved for life. And a lot of times in those big meetings, and they call them crusades and what have you now, it's out of, say there's 10,000 people there, and 6,000 of them go forward, there may only be 100 that stay saved, because
Yeah.
they don't have discipleship. They don't really have
Right.
a one-on-one. So, looking back to the ancient landmarks, I think that's one that's going to be restored.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, as Rick Joyner would say, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. So, okay. Well, we
All
will
right.
catch you next time.
All right.
All right. Be blessed.